Welcome into First Take. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, Molly Karam. Gentlemen.
What's up? What's up?
How we doing?
How you doing?
So you got a diet going. She's really got some super secret, super diet going.
Because we have to try to keep up with you. You're like the lean, mean fighting machine.
What I've been doing for years and years and years. I do the same thing every day.
I don't know.
Every day.
Do you know the last time he's missed cardio?
Here's the problem.
You need to tell America.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
You're complaining instead of taking a moment to inhale and appreciate the compliment we're giving you. What we're saying is that you've been an inspiration to us getting healthier because you're older than us, but clearly in better shape than all of us. That's what we're doing. It's a compliment. I know that's hard because it's rare that you deserve one, but you're getting one now.
Thank you. The only thing I inhale on a nightly basis is steamed chicken and broccoli. That's just me.
You know what?
Seriously, though.
You know what Shannon Sharp says? You know what Shannon Sharp says? Shannon Sharp says you can't. You can't outwork a bad diet.
Yeah, you are.
You gotta eat.
That is a fact. I will agree with that. But let me say,
okay, go.
I am very proud of you for all you have done, slowly but surely.
I'm getting it.
And I think I'm going to be proud of you because I'm not trusting that you're really going to stick with this.
Oh, come on.
I'm challenging you. Challenge.
I kept it to myself.
I've heard this before.
Let's go.
Oh, come on.
Let's go.
This is not a kick. I'm saying last thing before we move on to our guests that are coming up. When's the last time you missed cardio?
It doesn't matter.
Just a couple decades ago.
This is back
It's unbelievable. How can I keep up with this? And I'm disciplined.
1998.
Wow. You ain't lying.
It is unreal. Guess who's with us today? Steelers running back D'Angelo Williams. Can't wait to have him here. And Mike Epps. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, that's going to be funny. But we begin in the Bay Area. The Golden State Warriors blew a 17-point lead and lost last night to the Timberwolves. The loss snapped a 114-game winning streak in which they led by 15 points. More importantly, they now have to win the team's last 4 games in order to break the Bulls' record of 72 wins in the regular season, something Draymond Green addressed after the game.
I wouldn't necessarily say caught up in the hype, but I think we've kind of gotten to a point now where it's like, all right, you're kind of ready for the regular season to end. Like, you're talking 82 games, you get bored with that after a while. So, and that's no excuse. It's just, I'm always giving it to y'all real, and that's about as real as I can be.
It's amplified now because we're so close to the goal. So it'd be a challenge for us, and something that we really need to focus on these last 4 games is to, as much as we can, as best we can, focus on the 48-minute execution and focus, as opposed to winning games. Because how we play is more important for the playoffs, and we need to focus on that.
So the ESPN Basketball Power Index now gives the Warriors a 56% chance to win 72 games. Skip, will they do it?
Stephen Naismith, as in the inventor of basketball as we know it, as I call you, I have been trying to tell you this for about 3 weeks, but you would not listen to me. The Golden State Warriors have been playing a very dangerous game that is finally catching up to them. And you kept looking at me across this table or through that camera saying, come on, no sweat, you're overreacting, they're young, they got this, 73 will be easy breezy.
I didn't say easy breezy.
Yeah, I know, well, I got it. But and I said, you know what I kept saying? I even tweeted this the other day. Instead of go Spurs go, me being a Spurs supporter, I said go Dubs go. Knock yourselves out. Just go ahead and do it. Because this team for 3 weeks has been playing the equivalent of playoff games. You scoffed at me when I said that, but they've been playing 3 weeks of playoff games before the playoffs even start. They are now stumbling not to the finish line, they're stumbling to the starting line, because my Spurs will be the first to tell you nothing matters except what happens about April 18th and thereafter, all the way through June, whatever it is, 20th. And I think the priorities have been wrong. I think that Steve Kerr, who obviously participated in the 95-96 Bulls, featuring Michael Jordan, and 73 wins, said, hey, if you guys do want to knock yourselves out, I'm going to let you knock yourselves out. And I think he made a mistake here. Are they going to do it? I hope they do it. I am rooting for them to do it, because every step they take closer and closer only helps Spurs, advantage Spurs. And did anybody notice last night that my Spurs, I don't know how they did this, but they just happened to win at Utah, which is no cakewalk, and Kawhi Leonard is turning into a big shot taker and maker, one of the more clutch players all of a sudden in the NBA. He just rose up over Gordon Hayward last night and just drained it. Wow, that was a pretty sweet shot to win a game, what was it, 86-84, I think 88-86 at Utah. Meanwhile, the Golden State Warriors are draining themselves mentally and physically. And Draymond Green, his contention that we're getting bored, baloney, you're getting bored. You're just getting worn out. That's what's happening, and he wants to dismiss it as boredom? No, baloney. Steph Curry, I told you the other day, he's got the weight of Dub Nation on his fairly slender shoulders right now because they're starting to go or not go as he goes or does not go. Did you check out his numbers last night? Steph Curry, this is unbelievable. He turned it on in the third quarter, in which he went 4 of 6 from the field and made 4 or 5 threes, and they broke out to a 17-point lead with 6:03 left. If you then combine Steph's stats, first, second quarter, fourth quarter, and overtime, he was 3 for 19 and 0 for 9 from 3. And in overtime, he was 1 for 7. He's just slowly being crushed by the pressure of having to carry this team towards 73 wins. So are they going to do it? I hope so. That's all I know. I hope they beat my Spurs twice, because that will take even more out of their gas tank for the games that really count.
Well, I definitely think their record is in jeopardy. I could see them going 72 and 10 instead of 73 and 9, simply because you've got back-to-back Saturday and Sunday on the road, first in Memphis, then Sunday in San Antonio. I think they'll win the 2 games, you know, the next game, and then obviously the next game against Memphis and the last game of the season. It's that back-to-back that I'm concerned about, because when you're on the road, it can factor into the equation. I just think that right now, they're a difficult team to count out, regardless of the struggles. You got to remember, because, see, Skip, you try to change the narrative. One of the things that we've talked about, we've debated, of course, whether or not they'd catch the record, and both of us conceded at one point we thought they would. Where we parted ways was where you thought this was working, this was grating on them so much that it would have a detrimental effect on them come playoff time. I don't believe that. It could ultimately compromise their ability to capture this record because of the last 4 games. They got to go 4-0. They've got back-to-backs on the road, Saturday and Sunday night. Memphis, who's still fighting for a 5th or a 6th seed within the Western Conference. These games are very, very relevant to them, whereas it may not be the case to the Golden State Warriors. You're pursuing it, of course. It matters to you, of course, but that back-to-back, if you're fatigued, that is where I've got some trepidation. I'm still going to say they're going to break the record, because that's what I've been predicting all season long. But I am concerned about them losing either Saturday or Sunday, because it's a back-to-back and both games are on the road. Having said that, I still have no concerns whatsoever about them in the postseason in terms of this having a negative impact on their postseason performance. I think San Antonio can have an effect on their postseason performance because San Antonio is great. I think Oklahoma City can have an effect on them in the postseason because Oklahoma City is great. They'll only meet one or the other. They won't meet both, because that's the 2 and 3 seed in the Western Conference. They're going to meet the Clippers in the second round. I'm just not concerned about the Clippers. I feel bad for my man Doc Rivers. I feel bad for my man CP3. But I just don't believe that that team, even though it's a heated rivalry and it will be tightly fought and whatever, they'll push things to the brink. But in the end, I think Golden State walks away victorious, because I don't like the way that the Clippers are built overall. Their starting 5 is one thing. Their bench is another. So having said all of that, I don't anticipate that the Golden State Warriors are going to have trouble because of chasing this record during the regular season. I think if they have trouble, it's going to be because of 2 superstars in OKC, or it's going to be because of the collection of superstar play on behalf of the San Antonio Spurs in the Western Conference Finals. It will not have anything to do with this streak that they've been pursuing, them being worn down and mentally and emotionally exhausted and all of that other stuff. To me, they'll get new life once the playoffs begin. The problem is that this is the regular season. That's the problem. If these games were playoff games, I tell you they'd capture the record with ease, because I think that the level of urgency will elevate and they'll respond to that. But in the end, they've got the #1 seed. They know they've got the best record in basketball. They know that the road to the championship must come through the Oracle. They're just not worried about it. I wouldn't call it boredom, but at the same time, there is a lack of urgency and there is a little bit of taking for granted, especially when you're going up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We know they've struggled. They're a relatively young team. Karl Anthony Towns should be everybody's Rookie of the Year, but Andrew Wiggins putting on the show that he did yesterday, Shabazz Muhammad dropping 35. Come on now.
Wow.
I mean, who the hell is expecting that? That's the kind of stuff.
15 to 17 free throws?
That's the kind of stuff that sneaks up on you. That's just one of those nights. It happens.
Okay, well, then they've had one of those nights here recently. They lost to Boston and Minnesota at Oracle. Really?
Well, Boston's different because, first of all, Boston took them to double overtime in Boston. Boston's got it. First of all, they're exceptionally coached by Brad Stevens, who I believe is the coach of the year, by the way. Then you've got the Isaiah Thomases of the world, the Avery Bradleys of the world, and others. They're athletic. They're young. They've got fresh legs. They come at you. They're just not ready yet because they're devoid of a star. But on any given night for a regular season game, the Boston Celtics can beat almost anybody. In a playoff series, Golden State would take them out in 5.
Oh, in a playoff series?
And they would take them out. Not that they would play them in the playoffs because they're in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, right.
But if they played in the playoffs, Golden State would take them out in 5.
I think they'd take them out in 4.
Okay, you can say 4. I'm saying when you're young and you're vibrant, you got talent, and you play as hard as Boston does, I show you the respect of giving you a game. But that's all they would get. That's the most they would get. So, again, but during the regular season, anything can happen. It happens all the time.
So, quietly in the shadows, my Spurs are cruising and peaking at the same time. But now we have tomorrow night at Oracle, Spurs at Warriors. This is just my hunch here.
Okay.
I think Coach Popovich will not play all of his starters. He'll mix and match first and second units in that game because I don't think he cares much about it. He'll just say the pressure's on them to sort of right the wrong of what happened at San Antonio a couple of weeks back, and I think he'll let Golden State have this one. I'm not sure he'll let them have the one in San Antonio on Sunday night after they have to play in Memphis, as you pointed out, on Saturday night. So that will be interesting because my Spurs will be going for 40 and 41.
Well, one of the things I think you need to become cognizant of is that whatever you're seeing from the Spurs goes out the window when they go up against Golden State. You have to treat Golden State differently because there's a different brand of basketball that you have to play against Golden State that you don't have to do against everybody else. When I was in San Antonio, when San Antonio beat the Golden State Warriors a few weeks ago on that Saturday night, I'm watching them play. I'm watching Tim Duncan come off the bench. I'm watching Kawhi Leonard 1 minute, LaMarcus Aldridge the next, Tim Duncan the next, Manu, Tony. Everybody was playing the three-point shot. They were extending. They were getting up in guys. They were switching. When Steph Curry would come, try to go from one baseline or one wing to another via the baseline, they were stepping back just to pick him, just to put a body on them. They were expending a lot of energy that they don't normally have to do against other opponents because of the bevy of threats that Golden State has at their disposal. So as a result of that, you're paying a lot of attention to how the Spurs are looking now. They're peaking at the right time, blah, blah. And I'm saying to you, that matters against everybody else. That doesn't matter against Golden State because whatever they show you against everybody else, they're not going to show against Golden State. They're going to play and implement a different brand of basketball in order to beat Golden State. And my question is, can they sustain that over the course of a 7-game series, doing some of the extremes that they exercised when they went against Golden State before? That's my question. They don't have to do that against everybody else, but they have to do that against Golden State.
Okay, you're on record as saying there's a fatal flaw in my Spurs. Not that you said they're too old, but you said that Popovich will go back and rely too heavily upon playing the older guys,
yes,
right?
I believe that.
Okay, I'm glad you got that on record because I love it because I disagree. This is a new world with Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge, Patty Mills. It's just different. I am starting to like this Spurs team as much as anyone else.
But are you willing to admit that even you don't know what Popovich is going to do, because rarely do people know.
Well,
when it comes to
clearly,
him.
Tony Parker doesn't know, because he admitted last night that he was basically wrong about what he was saying about they were going to, not going to play their guys.
I'm just saying to you, we don't know. Popovich doesn't play his hand. The man plays chess. He does not play his hand like that. And all I'm saying to you is that you're going to have to be a bit different. One game you might get physical and might try to beat Golden State up. Even though it might cost you a game, the fact that you think you might get away with beating them up may serve you better over the course of a 7-game series. You know, when we talked about Villanova winning the national championship against North Carolina on Monday night, one of the things everybody raved about with Jay Wright throughout the NCAA tournament is the myriad of defenses that he threw at teams in a particular game. There were various different looks that he gave them. Well, over the course of a series, you trying to tell me Greg Popovich is capable of something like that? Of course he is. But the point is, what's going to work? And how long is it going to work when you have to rely upon age-old veterans to come through? Because it's not just Kawhi and LaMarcus Aldridge. You only need 2 guys in most instances. Against Golden State, doesn't cut it. If that's the case, Oklahoma City would have beaten them already this year. I'm sitting there in Houston this past weekend, and I got cats from Oklahoma City telling me they looking forward to going against Golden State. They want that challenge. Well, damn, the 3 times I saw y'all go against them this year didn't seem that way. So I'm not sold, okay? But against anybody else, I know that Oklahoma City can do some damage. We'll see.
Okay, so bottom line, you still have Golden State winning the West?
Yes.
I do not.
All right.
This is right on schedule for me. Love it.
You just love it. Yeah, great mood.